Difference between a dependent and an independent clause. A clause is a group of words that has both a subject and a verb. A clause is the shortest expression within a sentence that makes sense in itself. If it is extracted from a sentence, it can stand on its own. Even if taken away from a sentence, it can stand as a sentence by itself. Here are the features of a typical clause in case you want to find a clause in a sentence. Look for a subject. Who or what the sentence is about. Like, John is eating. John is a subject because the sentence is about John. Look for a verb. What the subject is doing or being. John is eating. Eating is the verb. John is sad. What is John being? John is being sad. Ask, does this part tell you something meaningful? John is eating because John is hungry. John is eating is a complete thought in itself, and hence this clause is complete in itself. Because John is hungry also tells you that John is hungry, but you don't know what John is doing because he is hungry. John is being rude because he is hungry. John is dancing because he is hungry. You don't know the right answer unless you write the correct sentence. John is eating because he is hungry. A sentence can have multiple clauses, and these clauses can be dependent and independent clauses. Take for example this sentence. She ran because she was late. She ran is an independent clause because it is a complete statement in itself. There may be different reasons why she is running, but the fact is that she is running. If you are not interested in why she is running, you can simply say she ran, and that's it. Because she was late is a dependent clause because if you just write because she was late without writing she ran, you never know because what she was doing because she was late. Here is another sentence. Although it was raining, we went outside. We went outside is an independent clause. It's a complete statement. We went outside, whatever could be the reason. Although it was raining is a dependent clause because what did we do even when it was raining? Unless you know the complete sentence, it can be anything. Although it was raining, we hung the laundry outside to dry. Although it was raining, we decided to have a bonfire in the garden. Although it was raining, the ground in front of our house was dry. Although it was raining, the neighborhood dog with rabies comfortably lay on the grass. No, the correct sentence is, although it was raining, we went outside. A dependent clause is also called a subordinate clause. How to recognize a dependent clause? Since it is a subordinate clause, a dependent clause usually begins with a subordinating word like because, although, if, when, while, since, unless, even though, before, after, etc. What makes a clause dependent? A clause becomes dependent when it relies on another clause to make sense. If you remove the main clause, the dependent clause feels incomplete. Can a sentence have multiple independent clauses? Yes, it can. I wanted to go for a walk, but it started to rain. I wanted to go for a walk is an independent clause. It started to rain is an independent clause. The sun set, so we packed up and left the beach. The sun set is an independent clause. We packed up and left the beach is an independent clause. You can come with me or you can stay here if you prefer. You can come with me is an independent clause. You can stay here if you prefer is an independent clause. Can a sentence have multiple dependent clauses? Yes. Although I was tired and because the room was quiet, I kept reading until midnight. Although I was tired, dependent clause because it begins with although. Because the room was quiet, again a dependent clause because it begins with because. She smiled when she saw the gift because it reminded her of home and since no one else noticed. When she saw the gift is a dependent clause because it begins with when. Because it reminded her of home. Again it is a dependent clause because it begins with because. since no one else noticed. Again, a dependent clause because it begins with since. You must be wondering, there are many dependent clauses listed in the video that contain independent clauses. You are right. Let's again consider one of the sentences. Although I was tired and because the room was quiet, I kept reading until midnight. I was tired, independent clause. The room was quiet, independent clause. I kept reading until midnight, independent clause. Let's consider another sentence with a mixture of dependent and independent clauses. I couldn't sleep because the dog was barking while the neighbors were arguing, and even though I was exhausted. I couldn't sleep is an independent clause. Because the dog was barking is a dependent clause. The dog was barking is an independent clause. While the neighbors were arguing is a dependent clause. The neighbors were arguing is an independent clause. Even though I was exhausted is a dependent clause. I was exhausted is an independent clause. So, if a subordinating word is added in the beginning of a clause, it becomes a subordinate clause or a dependent clause. But if a clause by itself makes complete sense, I'm running late, for example, it becomes an independent clause. I hope you have understood the difference between dependent and independent clause. If you found this video useful, please like it and subscribe to my channel so that you receive a notification whenever I upload such videos. Thanks for watching.